Hi, in this video I'm going to show you the basics of working with sign-up sheets using hineni.ca. This video is for people who are in charge of one or more sign-up sheets. If you just want to learn how to use hineni.ca to sign up for volunteer jobs, then you can find out what you need to know by watching our Volunteering with hineni.ca video. In this video, I'll explain the different kinds of users of hineni.ca and which parts of the system they can see. Then I'll go over some of the terminology used in hineni.ca to help you understand the system better. Next, we'll look at the Job Titles feature. Then we'll take a look at how sign-up sheet organizers can see their sign-up sheets, and finally, we'll go over how to create and modify your own sign-up sheets. Let's start by understanding how hineni.ca adapts to each volunteer in your organization according to the roles that they play. Your organization is made up of many different volunteers. In hineni.ca, your volunteers fall into different categories. The first way hineni.ca categorizes your volunteers is based on whether they are registered or unregistered. Unregistered volunteers don't have a user ID and password. Unregistered volunteers can still be assigned volunteer jobs, they just can't sign up themselves because you need to be logged into hineni.ca to be able to see sign-up sheets. Registered volunteers have a user ID and password that lets them log into hineni.ca. Registered volunteers can see sign-up sheets and they can sign up for jobs themselves. Note that unregistered volunteers can sign up at any time and become registered volunteers if they want to. Some registered volunteers can also become organizers. Organizers can volunteer for jobs just like any other kind of volunteer, but they can also create and modify sign-up sheets. They can also assign jobs to other volunteers using the delegation feature. One or two organizers can also be volunteer coordinators. Volunteer coordinators maintain the list of events on your calendar and control who is a registered volunteer and who is an organizer. So that's everything you need to know about the different categories of volunteers in hineni.ca. Now let's go over some of the terminology used in working with sign-up sheets. First, there's event. An event has a what, including an event name and optionally details of what the event is about. Events can be something that recur regularly like a worship service, or they might be one-time happenings like a potluck dinner. Events also have a when, including the day, date, and time that the event starts and when it ends. Events also have a location where they take place. The next term is job title. Job titles describe what the volunteer will be doing. You can choose whether a job title is open to any volunteer, or if only a specific list of qualified volunteers can sign up for a particular kind of job. When you combine an event and a job title, you get a job. Jobs are what your volunteers sign up for. You collect a group of jobs into a list, and that's what's called a sign-up sheet. Sign-up sheets can contain the same job for a regular recurring event, or they can contain a mixture of jobs for a single event. That's up to you. Sign-up sheets have a title and optionally a more detailed description. You can decide whether all of your volunteers can see the sign-up sheet or whether it's visible to just a specific list of volunteers. You can also choose who's able to make changes to the sign-up sheet, and you can ask hineni.ca to send out warning emails if a sign-up sheet has a vacant job shortly before an event. So these are the most important terms for you to know when working with sign-up sheets. You have events that describe something that's going on in your organization, and job titles that describe the kinds of help you need from your volunteers. When you combine the two, you get a job, which is a specific request for volunteer help. You can collect up a list of jobs into a group, and that's a sign-up sheet. So let's look at how to work with sign-up sheets in hineni.ca. If you're an organizer or a volunteer coordinator, then your hineni.ca menu will have an extra tab here. You can use this tab to get to the Organizer Tasks menu. This is what the Organizer Tasks menu looks like. If you're also a volunteer coordinator, then you'll see some other options too. Before you can create a sign-up sheet, you need to have your volunteer coordinator create the events that you're interested in. This is the job titles list. You can see the job titles that your organization uses here. You can create a new job title, or you can work with existing job titles. These buttons let you edit a job title's properties, maintain the list of volunteers who are qualified to do this kind of job, or delete a job title if your organization doesn't need it anymore. Your job titles can be as specific as you want them to be, but they don't have to be too specific, because you can always override the job title for individual jobs on a sign-up sheet. We'll look at how that works later. Let's look at the details of a job title. This is where you set up your job title details. Every job title has a description. You can also enter optional details if you think that your job titles might need clarification. Use this checkbox to tell hineni.ca that only certain people are allowed to volunteer for this type of job. The default guest feature is an advanced feature that we'll cover in another video. For volunteer reporting, you can adjust the amount of time credit that a volunteer gets for doing this type of job. By default, volunteers are credited with an amount of time equal to the duration of the event. And those are all the job title details. If the job title is the kind that will only be open to specific volunteers, you can edit the list of qualified volunteers here. To add a qualified volunteer, just type their name here. And they're added to the list. To remove a volunteer from the qualified list, just click the Delete button here. Let's go back to the Organizer menu and take a look at the sign-up sheet list. Depending on how many one-time event sign-up sheets you create, you might eventually get a long list of sign-up sheets. To help you find the ones you're looking for, you can filter the list. For example, you can show only those sheets that have events on or after a date that you choose. You can also filter the list to show only the sheets that you own. This is the sign-up sheet details page. This page shows you the sign-up sheet properties and the list of jobs on the sign-up sheet. Note that this is different from the sign-up sheet view for volunteers. You can't sign up for jobs on this page, but you can add and remove jobs from here. Every sign-up sheet has a title and a description that explains what this sign-up sheet is about. You can choose who is able to see the sign-up sheet here. You can choose everyone, just a list of selected volunteers, or only the sheet's owners. Sign-up sheet visibility is just one of the advanced features which we'll cover in more detail in another video. The list of jobs on the sign-up sheet is here. You can filter the list by event date here. For each job, you can see who's signed up, and you can edit or delete the job using these action buttons. If you make changes to the sign-up sheet properties, make sure you click the Save button. If you want to go back to the sign-up sheet list, just click the Close button. Let's take a look at how to create a new sign-up sheet. Let's create a sign-up sheet for musical accompanists for certain worship services. First, we'll give the sign-up sheet a name and a description so volunteers know what the sign-up sheet is about. Now we'll save the sign-up sheet so we can add some jobs to it. Click this button. Remember that we said before that a job is a combination of a job title and an event. On this page, we start by picking the job title that we want. On the sign-up sheet, the job title will be shown for each job. However, if you want to be more specific, you can override the job title by including a description here. You can also add extra details for this job if you think that it will help your volunteers. If you only want to add space for one volunteer for each job, just leave the vacancies per event at 1. If you want to let multiple people sign up for each kind of job, you can say how many volunteers you're looking for here. We've said what the job is, now we just need to pick the events for these new jobs. The list of your organization's events will be here. You can filter the list by date here. By default, events that are already on your sign-up sheet are hidden. All you have to do is check the events where you want to create the new jobs. You can use these buttons to pick all events, no events, or to toggle the list of selected events. Let's say we want to create accompanist jobs for these services. To create these jobs and add them to our sign-up sheet, we just have to click the Add Selected button. When we go back to our sign-up sheet, we can see that our jobs have been created. If your sign-up sheet has more than one kind of job title on it, you'll need to go back and add the jobs for each job title separately. You can also modify an existing sign-up sheet. For example, you can come back and add jobs for new events as they're created by your volunteer coordinator. You can also edit and remove jobs from your sign-up sheet. Let's say we want to give a more specific position name for this job. You can enter it here. To remove a job from a sign-up sheet, just click this button. hineni.ca will ask you to confirm before deleting the job. Once you delete a job, any information about who has signed up for that job will be permanently deleted. Those are the basics of working with sign-up sheets in hineni.ca. There are some more advanced topics which we'll cover in another video. We hope that you found this video helpful and that hineni.ca makes volunteering for your organization easier and more convenient.